Hey, Shalom Israel, Most High in Christ bless. I am Captain Zakar, and this is another 15 minutes with a captain. Today we're going to go over New Year's resolution. New Year's resolution. All right, give me that in Hosea chapter 4, verse 6 to start out.
The book of Hosea, chapter 4 and verse 6. My people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge.
God's people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. That's talking about the law of God. It's going to say, keep reading.
Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee.
Keep reading.
That thou shalt be no priest to me.
That's why he cast us away. In the ancient times, he said, you have to go. It's go on the other side of the earth is how mad he was at us. Read.
Seeing that thou hast forgotten the law of thy God.
That's the knowledge that we reject. That's the knowledge that we have forgotten that destroys us as a people. And when you forget the law of God, you forget who you are as a people, and then you begin to take on the ways of your captors. For instance, New Year's resolution. Pull up that first image that you got, because many people have no idea where it comes from or what it means. Let's read that for them.
From History.com. The history of New Year's resolutions. The custom of making New Year's resolution has been around for thousands of years, but it hasn't always looked the way it does today.
Now, anything that was around thousands of years ago, more often than not, it has roots or traces of paganism in it, idol worship of other gods outside of the Bible. Let's see. Go to the next image.
During a massive 12-day religious festival known as Akata, the Babylonians crowned a new king or reaffirmed their loyalty to the reigning king.
Now, we read about in the Bible where the Babylonians, Nebuchadnezzar, made an idol, a statue of himself for people to bow down and worship to. They worshiped Baal the dragon. They were caught up in all type of idolatry as a people. So much so that God calls America of today Babylon the Great. It compares America today to ancient Babylon of old because both places are rooted in paganism. Keep reading in that.
They also made promises to the gods to pay their debts and return any objects they had borrowed.
That's where New Year's resolutions mostly come from, is what? You are promising to a God that you are going to do something, because the God of the Bible does not tell you to promise him anything. Let's keep reading. Watch this.
These promises could be considered the forerunners of our New Year's resolutions.
They can be the forerunners of our New Year's resolutions. So New Year's resolutions come from ancient pagan Babylon. Keep reading.
If the Babylonians kept to their word, their pagan gods,
their Satanist gods, their idol gods, their unreal gods would do what?
Will bestow favor on them for the coming year.
If
not, they would fall out of the God's favor, a place no one wanted to be.
It's rooted in paganism. New Year's resolutions go back to worshiping another God. Let's go back into the scripts now. Let's see what the God of the Bible, the one true God, the living God, let's see what he says. Let's go to Ecclesiastes chapter 5, and let's read verse 4 through 6.
Ecclesiastes chapter 5 and verse 4. When thou vowest a vow unto God, defer not to pay it, for he hath no pleasure in fools.
In fools. So when you say you're going to do something, do it. Because if you don't do it, God says that's foolish in his eyes. Now keep reading. He's going to say why.
Pay that which thou hast vowed. Better is it that thou shouldest not vow, than that thou shouldest vow and not pay.
Here's the point.
Suffer not thy mouth to cause thy flesh to sin.
When you make New Year's resolutions, you are causing your mouth to sin. It's a sin against God. Read on.
Neither say thou before the angel that it was an error.
So when you don't fulfill the vow of the New Year resolution, When judgment day come, you're going to tell the angel, I didn't really mean it. And what's going to happen? Keep reading.
Wherefore should God be angry at thy voice?
He's going to be angry at thy voice. Why? Because you are lying. Keep reading.
And destroy the work of thine hands.
And destroy you through judgment. Don't sin with your mouth by making New Year's resolutions. Jump back up to verse 1. So what should you do? Verse 1.
Verse 1. Keep thy foot when thou goest to the house of God, and be more ready to hear than to give the sacrifice of fools.
Keep them New Year's resolutions out of your mouth. That's a sacrifice of fools. Read it.
For they consider not that they do evil.
They do evil. Go ahead.
Be not rash with thy mouth, and let not thy heart be hasty to utter anything before God. For God is in heaven, and thou upon earth.
So what does he tell us to do so we don't sin with our mouth against him? Read.
Therefore, let thy words be few.
Let your words be few, what God says. Give me that in Sirach chapter 18 now. The book of Sirach chapter 18, and I want verse 19. So to not sin with our mouth and making pagan New Year's resolutions, worshiping and following after the Babylonians, what does God say do? Read that.
The book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 18 and verse 19. Learn before thou speak.
Do what?
Learn before thou speak.
We say things and we don't even know the origins of where they come from, causing our mouth to sin against God. That's why God said what? Read it again.
Learn before thou speak.
And if you don't know where it comes from, God said, keep thy words few before you end up sinning against your God. And that's what we've done as a people, making New Year's resolutions, following after other gods. We have not learned before we speak. We are rash with our mouth. God says, do not be that way. Give me that in Matthew chapter 5. Look what Jesus the Christ says in Matthew chapter 5. We're going to start at 33 and we're going to read down to 36.
The book of Matthew, chapter 5 and verse 33. Again, ye have heard that it hath been said by them of old time, thou shalt not forswear thyself, but thou shalt perform unto the Lord thine oath.
We just read that in Ecclesiastes. Thou shalt not swear, but thou shalt perform unto the Lord thine oath. That means what comes out of your mouth, that shall you do, right? But look what we are to do under Christ. Read.
But I say unto you, swear not at all.
Don't make any New Year's resolutions. Jesus the Christ. Under Jesus the Christ, don't make any New Year's resolutions. Swear not at all. Read.
Neither by heaven, for it is God's throne.
Don't you say, I promise God. I swear to God. I promise to God I'm going to follow through with this. Read.
Nor by the earth, for it is his footstool.
Read.
Neither by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great king.
Read.
Neither shalt thou swear by thy head, because thou canst not make one hair white or black.
Now I want you to pull up that third image that we have where Christ says, don't swear at all, neither by heaven, for it is God's throne. Why would Christ give us this warning that we should take heed to in this day and age? Pull it up. Read that for us.
Whether it's to lose weight, get out of debt, pursue a coveted hobby, socialize more, or something else.
None of those would be sins, right? Nothing wrong with those things. Keep reading.
For many, making New Year's resolutions.
But they oftentimes are New Year's resolutions. Read.
Is part of the festivities. And with so many people committing to goals for the new year, the hope and optimism that change can happen is in the air. The reality is, however, that over 90% of New Year's resolutions will be abandoned within just a few months.
Read that last sentence again.
The reality is, however, that over 90% of New Year's resolutions will be abandoned within just a few months.
Go back to the scriptures and read Matthew 5 verse 34. Why did Jesus warn us in ancient times for things of today? Read.
Matthew chapter 5 and verse 34. But I say unto you, swear not at all, neither by heaven, for it is God's throne.
Because 90% of people will not follow through with it. They will cause their mouth to sin. Christ said, don't do it. He knows us better than we know ourselves. It is a sin. It is following after pagan gods. Watch this now. Give me that in the book of Luke, chapter 12. Luke chapter 12, and I want you to read verse 16 on down.
The book of Luke, chapter 12 and verse 16. And he spake a parable unto them, saying, the ground of a certain rich man brought forth plentifully. And he thought within himself, saying, what shall I do? Because I have no room where to bestow my fruits. And he said, this will I do. I will pull down my barns and build greater, and there will I bestow all my fruits and my goods.
I'm going to get out of debt. I'm going to increase my wealth, right? Which a lot of New Year's resolutions are about. Read.
And I will say to my soul, soul, thou hast much goods laid up for many years. Take thine ease, eat, drink, and be merry.
And be merry. Go ahead.
But God said unto him, thou fool.
Thou who?
Thou fool.
Thou fool. Why would he call him a fool? Read.
This night thy soul shall be required of thee.
This night thy soul shall be required. You shouldn't be making New Year's resolutions because you don't know if you're going to live that year. Your life may be required of you that night or any night that you decide to make a New Year's resolution. You may not see the end of the year. That's prideful to make a New Year's resolution not knowing how long you have on this earth, because your life or the time that you live on this earth is in the hands of God. Give me that in James chapter 4. James chapter 4 and verse 13 through 17.
The book of James chapter 4 and verse 13. Go to now, ye that say, today or tomorrow we will go into such a city and continue there a year.
And continue there what?
And continue there a year.
Let me make a New Year's resolution. Let me plan out my year with a New Year's resolution to this pagan god. I'm going to promise them, this pagan god, this idol god, I'm going to do this. Read.
And buy and sell and get gain. Whereas ye know not what shall be on the morrow.
You don't know if your life is required that night. Read.
For what is your life? It is even a vapor that appeareth for a little time and then vanisheth away. For ye ought to say, if the Lord will.
If the Lord will, read.
We shall live and do this or that.
You know what saying Lord's will to the Most High shows him? That your life belongs to him, not to you. That you're not prideful and saying that I'm a God myself. I'm going to do this year. Let me make a New Year's resolution. Lord's will shows God that you are humble and that your life belongs to him. Give me that. Let's go back to Ecclesiastes. It's a precept that I want to pull out of there. Ecclesiastes, and I believe it's in the last chapter here. Let me find it for you. About not knowing when. Let's see. Ecclesiastes chapter 11 or 12. Let me see where I want. I got this different, but right there. Ecclesiastes chapter 9, verse 12. Let's read that.
Ecclesiastes chapter 9 in verse 12. For man also knoweth not his time.
None of us know our time. Our life, our time that we are here upon the earth belongs to God. Read.
As the fishes that are taken in an evil net, and as the birds that are caught in a snare, so are the sons of men snared in an evil time, when it falleth suddenly upon them.
When it falleth suddenly upon them. Suddenly upon them. Give me that in the book of Job now. Job chapter 14 and verse 5.
The book of Job, chapter 14 and verse 5. Seeing his days are determined.
Seeing our days have been numbered by God. They're already determined. Only he knows those things. Read.
The number of his months are with thee. Thou hast appointed his bounds that he cannot pass.
All of us have a day, a month, a time that we cannot pass, because God has ordained how long we will be upon this earth. Making a New Year's resolution is worshiping idol gods, going all the way back to the Babylonians. We should say Lord's will, because our life and our time upon earth belongs to him. Now give me that in Revelation chapter 18. Revelation chapter 18, and I just want verse 4 now.
The book of Revelation, chapter 18 and verse 4.
Uh-huh.
And I heard another voice from heaven saying, "Come out of her, my people."
What does it mean when God tells us, come out of her, my people? He's talking about what? Come out of modern day Babylon the Great. Give me that in Jeremiah chapter 51. And I want you to read verse 6.
Jeremiah chapter 51 and verse 6. Flee out of the midst of Babylon.
Come out of Babylon. Now you're not in ancient Babylon. Now you're in modern Babylon, which is called Babylon the Great in the Bible. But he's telling us it applies for today. Flee out of Babylon and do what?
And deliver every man his soul.
That's what he means in the book of Revelation. Come out of her. Deliver your soul. Stop following the ways of your oppressors, of your captors. Learn before you speak, because you are causing your mouth to sin, making New Year's resolutions. Go back now to Revelation 18. Let's read 4 and 5.
The book of Revelation, chapter 18 and verse 4.
Uh-huh.
And I heard another voice from heaven saying, "Come out of her, my people."
Deliver your soul. Stop following after the ways of Babylon the Great. Read.
That ye be not partakers of her sin.
Don't make New Year's resolutions. That's a sin. That's Babylon the Great sins. And those that follow after Jesus the Christ, those things should not be named amongst us. Read.
And that ye receive not of her plagues.
Uh-huh.
For her sins have reached unto heaven.
Her sins have reached unto heaven.
And God hath remembered her iniquities.
God will remember Babylon the Great's sins and will judge her for those things. Jump over to chapter 19. Chapter 19, and I want you to read verse 2 and 3.
The book of Revelation, chapter 19 and verse 2. For true and righteous are his judgments.
Are his what?
Are his judgments.
Oh, he's going to judge this place for all of her sins, even New Year's resolutions. Read.
For he hath judged the great whore.
The who?
The great whore.
Babylon is a great whore. Read.
Which did corrupt the earth with her fornication.
It did what?
Which did corrupt the earth with her fornication.
New Year's resolutions aren't only found here in America. It goes back to ancient Rome. It goes back to being in Europe. It is wherever this white man has his influence as, they make New Year's resolutions also. This place has corrupted the earth through her fornication. Read.
And hath avenged the blood of his servants at her hand.
And what's going to happen because of these sins that have reached to heaven and God will remember? Read.
And again they said, Alleluia. And her smoke rose up forever and ever.
God will judge this place and all those that follow after the great whore. So don't make New Year's resolutions, because it's idol worship of other gods.
What is a nation?
Nation is men leading by example.